hello, friends. Hello, friends. A tradition unlike any other.
Oh, my goodness. In your life, have you seen anything like that?
There it is! Adam Scott, a life changer. Mashed potato!
Here it comes.
This is the 19th Tee podcast. Kieran Marsh, Nathan Drudy back with you for another week. Not just any other week though, Druids. Grand final week. At least for me, I think for you, maybe it's prelim week because obviously the Open Championship is grand final week for you. But yeah, undoubtedly, no matter where it sits, it is one of the best weeks in the golfing year. Of course, Masters week, Augusta National. We go again at the back end of this week. There'll be a very minor piece on that tonight because we will, of course, have our Masters preview, our traditional Masters preview a little later in the week, but exciting nonetheless. One of my favourite weeks of the year.
Yeah, likewise. Very much looking forward to this year's edition. I think there's a lot of very, very good chances, and we've even got the matching shirts on, as you mentioned before we started. So we've done well. I think it's the first time we've ever colour coordinated anything. So
yeah, well done. Yeah, absolutely. Clearly, our excitement has just overwhelmed us both to the point where we're matching the outfit. Streetster, a quick wrap, obviously, a little later tonight to kick us off in Masters Week. We have a chat with Cassie Porter, a very promising Australian on the rise, someone who made the decision to turn professional not all that long ago, and she's made every poster winner, made her first professional start at the WPGA Championship at Royal Queensland at the beginning of the year and has featured heavily amongst some of the leaderboards across the summer. So looking forward to having a chat to Cassie Porter. But before we do, taking a quick look back at the weekend's action, we did have the first major of the year. We've just spoken about the fact that we are on the doorstep of the Masters. Well, the first major of the year was the Chevron on the LPGA Tour, and Jennifer Kupcho creates a bit of history. So she becomes the last woman to win the Chevron at Mission Hills Country Club. Of course, that famous Poppy's Pond there next to the 18th. She became the last woman to jump into that after winning the Chevron because this tournament is on the move. But certainly a player in Jennifer Kupcho, having a few years ago become the first woman to win at Augusta National in the very inaugural Augusta National Women's Amateur. She was very impressive in her Solheim Cup debut for Team America last year. And of course now she gets her first victory on the LPGA Tour as a major. So certainly carving out a little niche for herself is Jennifer Kupcho.
Yeah. I mean, look, it was the wheels were rattling there for a little while. A lot of bogeys on the card today, particularly back 9-3 over. I thought Jessica Corder was going to just charge her down, as we know how good a player she is. But no, fantastic to see Jennifer Kupcho lifting what is an abnormally large trophy there at the Chevron. So
it is one of my favourite celebrations on either of the PGA or LPGA tours, jumping into Poppy's Pond and then doing your traditional post-round media in a bathrobe, essentially.
Yeah.
It's outstanding. So, a well-deserved winner in terms of Australians in the field there. Hannah Green made a good start to her major year. She was the highest finishing Australian in a tie for 8th. She ended up 6 shots behind Kupcho. Minjee Lee a shot behind Green in an outright 12th at 7 under. And then you go down. Lydia Ko, obviously not Australian, but we adopt her in the Australasian region, finished at 4 under and tied for 25, alongside Gabby Ruffles. And I want to make mention of Gabby Ruffles because she shot out the gates, Drews, was in the top 10 after the first round and really impressive. I think it was a 4 under opening for Gabby. And it was only really the final round of 2 over that saw her fall down the leaderboard. Still very much in the early stages of her career, but a really promising performance in a major from Gabby Ruffles.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very handy. A tough round today, finishing with a couple over par, but I'm sure she'll take some good confidence away from that one and into, as you mentioned, very early stages of her career. So I'm sure a win won't be too far away for Gabby.
Other Australians in the field there at the Chevron, Sarah Kemp missed the cut, as did Sue O. And I'm just scrolling down, that were the only other Australians in the field. Sticking with the women's game, because I mentioned that Jennifer Kupcho made history a couple of years ago, Drews, as the first woman to win the now, I think it's in its 3rd or 4th year, the Augusta National Women's Amateur. And that was run and won again over the weekend by a 16-year-old by the name of Anna Davis, who hails from San Diego. I'm not sure if you saw much of this, Drudes, but cooler at 16 than I ever have been and could ever hope to be, as she strolled the fairways of Augusta National and lifted the trophy in a bucket hat and a spray jacket that was zipped only a quarter of the way up. It was aspirational swag at Augusta National from young Anna Davis.
Yes, absolutely. I've been trying to find, and I'm still scrolling through now, if she's committed anywhere for college, but I can't seem to find anything. So I'm not sure if she's just going to make the decision to now turn pro or if she's going to get into the college game. Obviously 16, very, very young. So, yeah, what a phenomenal performance, really. The only player to finish under par, I believe. I think there were a couple of players at even par, if I'm
She was the only player to finish under par. 2 players tied for second at even, and then the rest over the card.
Right, there you go. So, in very, very good form across the one round at Augusta National, Marshy, which I know remains a point of contention for all of us.
I'll get to it in a moment. Can I just point out she had a 69 at Augusta today. So she started with a round of 70, a Champions Retreat. For those unfamiliar with this tournament, it's a 3-round tournament. The first 2 rounds are played at Champions Retreat just down the road from Augusta National. And then the field is reduced, and then the final round is played at Augusta National. So young Anna Davis starts with a 70 at Champions Retreat, then has a 76 the following day at Champions Retreat. So not necessarily scrapes him, but certainly the wheels were getting a little wobbly. You have the day off, and then she rocks up today at one of the most intimidating places I'd imagine in golf to play for the first time. Goes out and shoots a 69 to win the tournament. So just remarkable. 2 Aussies in the field at this tournament, Drudes, the highest finisher. And this won't surprise you at all in terms of women amateurs out of Australia. Kirsten Rudgley, a player that we have mentioned numerous times now on this podcast, of course, out of your backyard over there in Western Australia. She won the Athena earlier in the year here on home shores in Melbourne. And she goes off and she finishes in a tie for 8th at 3 over, just 4 shots back from Davis, the winner. And then Emily Maha out of the Capera Golf Club here in Brisbane was the other Australian in the field. She ended up missing the cut. She had back-to-back rounds of 76 at Champions Retreat, where she missed the cut by looks 2 shots. Or 3 shots, actually. Certainly no shame in that performance from young Emily Maha. She'd be disappointed not to go to Augusta National, but Kirsten Rudgley got that chance and certainly performed admirably to finish in a tie for 8th. Just on that, Drudes, I think can we get the PGA Tour, which we'll get to in a moment with Valero Texas Open, the LPGA and Augusta National in the same room and have a chat about this weekend? Because if we're half serious, I mean, first of all, we know that the wheels of change grind incredibly slowly at Augusta National Golf Club. But the fact that they feel the need to be celebrated that the women get to play a round and the entire tournament is not played, it's called the Augusta National Women's Amateur, and we play a third of the competitive golf at the course. So that, first and foremost, is an issue. All 3 rounds must be played there. But as I mentioned, the Chevron is moving locations. It's going to Texas on the LPGA Tour. Why can't it move times? And similarly, do we need a PGA Tour event on this weekend? Now, you can debate the merits of whether or not Augusta National should have scheduled the ANMA on the same weekend as an existing women's major, but unfortunately the toothpaste is out of the tube. Augusta National is in many ways greater than the game of golf as a body and as an entity. So can we squeeze this for what it's worth? Can you imagine 2 weeks of golf with the focus on Augusta? Have the ANWA there for 3 rounds, and then you roll into this week with players starting to come in for their practice rounds, drive, chip and putt, et cetera, et cetera. Like 2 weeks of back-to-back golf at Augusta would be a really special window on the calendar.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it needs to happen. But as you say, things move very, very slowly. The tour, the PGA Tour is very reticent to change, and the LPGA, it hasn't been much better in a lot of ways in recent years as well. So I can't see it changing anytime soon. I think at a minimum, as far as scheduling, I think that's obviously the more difficult one to tackle. But for some reason, we're not playing 3 rounds there, as you mentioned, and it just doesn't seem to make any sense at all. So,
and you juxtapose that this week. I'm not sure if you saw this, but I like it. This inspired genuine feelings of nausea within my stomach. You juxtapose the fact that young women amateurs can only get onto Augusta for 1 round as part of a 3-round tournament called the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Yet we'll let Dude Perfect walk around Augusta National with fucking hockey sticks and pool cues and tennis rackets for some gimmick. Now, as I said, I know the wheels of change grind slowly there. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You can't tell women amateurs you can only play 1 round here. You can't tell patrons that you have to leave your mobile phone at the door and let some fucking morons onto arguably the most hallowed turf in the game.
Yeah.
For a
doesn't
gimmick.
make a lot of sense.
It was, and imagine my surprise, Drew, to see Bryson DeChambeau at the centre of that.
Yeah.
And to have the gall in his social post a little earlier today, sharing photos of the experience, to say that he was growing the game. Growing the game would be letting women amateurs play 3 rounds there the week ahead of the Masters.
Agree. 100%. You've hit the nail on the head. You've said all my thoughts that I wanted to have about that.
I don't know how you felt, honestly. And people will call me, a wowzer, but I saw those photos and I was lost for words. Who? Tell me who is asking for that content?
No one. It's gold, man.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. Anyway, before I get too worked up, just finally, Drudes, on the PGA Tour. You mentioned the Valero Texas Open. The only reason I care about this tournament, I questioned whether it needs to be here. The only reason I care about this tournament is because Jordan Spieth, of course, was a defending champion and he peaked a week early back in 2021. Well, JJ Spawn wins his first PGA tournament and also gets himself a start at Augusta National, courtesy of a win here at the Valero. Didn't have it all his own way in the final round, but ends up getting it done by 2 shots over Matt Kuchar and our very own Matty Jones.
Yeah, good to see Matty Jones out the top there. Obviously, interesting field assembled for this one. Just given obviously the timing in the week before the big dance in the Masters. So it's another one of those ones where you go, well, should we just have a week off before the Masters? But on the other hand, it gives people the opportunity to win their first tournaments, which is great to see. Handy pay packet as well, by the way, 1.54, I think, US.
JJ certainly won't be turning it down, not in any way, shape or form. Becomes the 9th first-time winner, Drews.
There you go.
On the PGA Tour this season. So, including our very own Lucas Herbert a little earlier in the year. So certainly no shortage of excitement in terms of guys getting an opportunity, to shine in these weeks where it's not necessarily the strongest of fields. But yeah, the 9th first-time winner for JJ Spawn also became the first player since Tiger Woods at the 2008 US Open to make a double bogey or worse on the first hole in the final round to go on to win. So
good
great little stat. You mentioned Matty Jones made the cut on the number, ends up in a tie for second, 2 shots back. So he's had a great weekend alongside a guy who I would think qualifies for your missing persons unit. Where's Matt Kuchar been for, the last 12 to 18 months? Matty Kuchar popped up again, as he invariably does every so often. And then in terms of other Australians in the field, Aaron Baddeley, I believe, Monday qualified into this tournament.
Right.
A little earlier in the week. He finished in a tie for 18th, 6 under across Saturday and Sunday, shot him up the leaderboard. And I believe, as I scroll down the list, Min Woo Lee missed the cut.
And Jason Day as well.
And J-Day, which also puts a line through J-Day. We won't see J-Day at the Masters for the first time in a long time, nor Ricky Fowler, who I believe was in the field of Valero. And obviously didn't win to qualify. So first time in a long time we don't see those two players at the Masters. Speaking of which, we have a giveaway, Drews, which I want to flag. Masters week, we love to be generous in one of the best weeks of the golfing calendar. Launched yesterday across our socials, so jump on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you follow us. Thanks to our great friends at Sure Shot. We're giving away one of the Axis watches, Drewster, which are a great bit of kit. All you have to do is obviously be following ourselves. There it is, the Axis watch. Following ourselves, following Sure Shot, which is it Sure Shot or MGI Golf?
Sure Shot.
Sure Shot.
Yep.
Sure Shot. Go ahead and follow MGI Golf as the parent company if you like. Great folks there at MGI Golf, but make sure you're following Sure Shot. Have to pick your winner and the score, the kicker being closest to without going over. And I must say, through 24 hours, some surprising disparity in what people think will win. And for me, the other major surprise was the number of people backing Rory McIlroy. Yeah. I must admit that one really that one really made me sit up from a chair. Yes. More than one person, which is more than one than I thought would actually say Rory McIlroy will win this week. So
I haven't seen many guesses for my winner, who's going to be out on Thursday as well. So that's interesting.
Very. I've seen a number for mine.
Yes,
so I am of similar thinking to many. So make sure you jump on, get in the comments of that post in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you're following Sure Shot. Give us your Masters winner and the score closest to without going over, and we will of course announce the winner in our review pod coming up next week. Also a reminder, Drudes, we are creeping closer. I think tonight is 196.
Something like that. Yep.
Creeping close at episode 200, which we are handing over to you, our listeners, much like we did in episode 100. Ask us anything, any question, golf-related, life-related, love-related, if you like. Ask us anything. We're also giving away a prize for the best question. If you submit what Nathan and I judged to be the best question, you'll walk home with a pair of Oakley Sunnies, thanks to our great friends at Oakley as well. So we'll do a bit more of that post-Masters, but it's going to be upon us before we know it. So a couple of great questions already, and we'll open the floor to many more before we hit record on episode 200.
Absolutely.
That's probably us for housekeeping.
Yes. One quick one before we do go. The Aussie Amateur was on. Shout out Connor McKinney from over here in WA at Joondalup. He won the men's side, and on the women's side, Fiona Zhu from New Zealand won. That was down at Cranbourne. And Aussie Golf is back this week at the National, Marshy, which is going to be great. Starts today, we're recording this Monday night, but we're pushing this out Tuesday morning. Yeah. So it starts today.
Which potentially I can actually probably see the value in getting it done before the weekend and losing coverage to the Masters tournament. So obviously, what will that make? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So obviously you're creeping into the first two rounds, but you don't lose the focus on the weekend. That's only just occurred to me. So that's actually pretty smart scheduling from the PGA Tour of Australasia. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, our show early next week will be dominated by the Masters, but we'll bring you the results, potentially even the winner. Depending on who does win and who does respond to our message.
Yes, correct.
As we roll the dice each and every week. Drewster, it's been a pleasure as always. Don't forget the official Masters preview coming your way on Thursday ahead of Friday morning's opening round of the 2022 Masters. But now, as we mentioned at the top, a young lady who has made every poster winner since turning professional and making her pro debut at the Australian WPGA Championship at Royal Queensland back in January. She has featured prominently across a number of leaderboards. And I don't know about you, Trudes, but the impression that I got, a very impressive young woman, but certainly only just getting started. Very, very mature, very switched on, very focused about what she wants to achieve in the game, and one that we're certainly looking forward to keeping an eye on in the coming years.
Absolutely. And she calls you out in some good stories as well in the back end. So make sure you listen right to the very end of this because, Marshy ends up with a bit of egg on his face.
Stick around for the last 5 minutes. Yeah. Always entertaining when our guests pull the piss out of me. That's great. Without any further ado, here's Cassie Porter. Cassie, thanks for joining us on the 19th tee.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Well, let's start there. As I said, it's been a pretty remarkable summer, which just so happens to coincide as your first as a professional. So Could you have asked for a better start for life as a pro?
No, not at all. I mean, if someone told me that my first summer out on the Aussie season was going to go that well, I guess I definitely would have been stoked. I wouldn't have believed them, to be fair. So, yeah, I'm definitely happy with how it all went, but happy to have some time at home too.
How have you found the transition, Cassie? We'll probably get a little later to the actual decision and probably what led up to that, but how have you found the transition to life as a pro, and has it been a big step, or you've taken it relatively in your stride?
Yeah, it definitely depends how you look at it. For me, it wasn't too different because I'm pretty used to traveling and everything. My first two events were, I think I just tried to get over the whole fact that, a 3-footer is actually worth something now. So, I definitely went through that stage at the start, being like, I better not miss this. It's probably going to cost me a couple grand or things like that, which obviously don't help when you're standing over a knee shaker. So, yeah, you get over that pretty quickly when you realise the golf's actually not going to be that great when you're thinking about that.
Your first event as a pro was the one that I mentioned I saw you at, which is, of course, the Australian PGA and WPGA at Royal Queensland. Must have been special for you to be able to make your pro debut in your backyard and do it in front of, I'm sure, a lot of people who mean a lot to you.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. I don't think many people get to say this, but it was really cool to be able to compete in my first pro event. Well, not my first pro event, but my first pro event as a pro was just so cool. I had a lot of people around me that have supported me for a long time, and my family came up. So, and nice to be just an hour drive away from home.
You've had some, as Marshy touched on, you've had a phenomenal summer, Cassie. I mean, is there a result that sticks out to you? Is it as simple as it was the WPGA up there? I mean, you've played some incredible golf. I mean, let alone for a person who's playing in their first pro season, but for someone who's been on the tour for many years, I'm sure they'd absolutely love to have had the season that you've had. Is there a moment that stands out?
There are a few. There's obviously one that sticks out is probably the fourth at Vic Open. But for me, as the player, I definitely think it's probably not something that anyone would think, but I think it was 6th place at Murray River. That was a week where I just wasn't feeling great. I was absolutely exhausted after Vic Open. I actually thought of not playing that week and just having a week rest. But I played and I came 6th. So I think that was probably my highlight of the trip, being able to do that while you're just so run down was, it definitely proves a lot to yourself.
You mentioned obviously that you're relatively used to, I guess, the lifestyle of a professional golfer, even though this is your first season as a pro. You mentioned the 3-footers. I mean, is that the biggest learning curve that you've had since taking the step up from amateur to pro, or is there something that you've gone, oh, should I actually have to do this as a pro now, or what is it?
There's a lot of different bills you have to pay.
Affiliation fees.
I know, yeah, it's weird. Look, I think the most important lesson that comes out of it is probably just learning to get over the fact that you're actually playing for money. And not just gift cards, it's hard cash. So I was pretty lucky that I got over that, the first 2 events. I think, some people aren't that lucky. So, that was a huge learning curve to be able to be comfortable over a 3-footer, knowing that there's quite a few dollars on the line.
You mentioned the 4th place at the Vic Open. How have you found more broadly the mixed events so far this summer? We were speaking to Aaron Pike about this last week, and he's talking about how much he's enjoyed the opportunity to play alongside the WPGA players. And we kind of made note that it almost seems routine now here in Australia, which is remarkable given it's, what we're doing here is quite groundbreaking. Outside of the kind of Sorensen Stenson event over in Europe, we're really kind of leading the way. And obviously Hannah made some history there in Murray River as well. So from your perspective, how's it been to kind of have your first summer as a pro, so dominated by these mixed events?
Yeah, honestly, I have loved every second. It has been so good. Playing with the guys, it not only, I guess you make more friends too. Coming to an event that isn't mixed, like Vic Open, or even the mixed events that like the ones that you haven't played yet, and turning up and seeing more people and you can say hi, like it makes a huge difference because you're on the road so much, and having, I guess, more friends around you is huge. So but not only that, I mean, the TPS has done so much for women's golf in Australia too, like seeing that, you know, we can play against the men, and it's just awesome. Like I am a huge advocate for TPS, absolutely.
I don't know if there's anything in this, but I kind of was thinking about it today, and in many respects, the WPGA has led the way in bringing international talent to our shores, so much more than the PGA in recent years. When you look at the quality of women athletes that we've brought down to the Australian Women's Open. Now, obviously, with COVID and the border restrictions, that's been difficult, particularly this year. And I'm sure for you, there was an element of probably a little bit of disappointment in your first pro season that wouldn't necessarily have a women's open at all, and even the international talent. But do you think maybe on the flip side of that, the ability to match yourself up in mixed events against, you know, our leading male players has been of benefit to you in that kind of first few outings as a pro?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously it's a huge kick in the guts not having women's Oz Open and everything, but playing against the men provides so much competition, and it's so great because they're great sports. So yeah, as much as it's a bittersweet, you know, it's bitter that we don't have the Oz Open, but then it's so cool that we have the TPS. So yeah, I think we've all managed and loved every second of this season so far.
And then on the flip side of that, I think the WPGA, you know, still doing a fantastic job in not only promoting the women's game here, but I think promoting different formats and different ways of looking at it. Like I look at an event like the Athena and how that's grown, you know, in recent years, and the most recent version of it, you know, at Sandy, and that was an awesome event. How do you feel as, you know, coming through at kind of the beginning of your pro career, that you've seen the development not only of the WPGA Tour, but concepts like the Athena that are really kind of front of mind now for golf fans across Australia?
Yeah, I think it's really great. I mean, we loved it. And with the plenty of people I've spoken to that watch the Athena, it's such good feedback. So I think it's huge for the WPGA to be able to do that, and so important too, because we all had so much fun, and I think that really came across on the broadcast, so which is obviously the main goal.
Now, the Athena, once you get your head around the format of it, it's a great event, as Marshy said. First time I kind of read it on paper, I had no idea what the hell was going on, but we got there in the end.
We were like that as players at first too.
It's quite unique, really. I mean, you absolutely test your skills under different situations every week, but to have it, I guess so, as actually part of the event is really cool. I mean, the knockout, obviously, I guess Kirsten obviously got you in the knockout section, but those names that are in that knockout round are truly special. And I mean, they are the next generation of female golf in this country, as Marshy and I have waxed lyrical about many times. The future of female golf in this country, and that includes yourself, is in very, very good hands. I mean, do you stop and think about like how good this next crop of golfers coming through is? Obviously, we've got great stars on the LPGA at the moment, but coming through is some genuine talent.
Yeah, it's awesome. Australia, we seem to breed good golfers, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, no, it's so cool coming through the ranks too. Like a lot of us are in the same sort of position, like just turned pro, just starting out, learning the ropes. So, yeah, I think we're all pretty lucky that we have each other too, because, you know, most of us will go overseas in the next couple of months, and yeah, we'll just be together. So I don't know how many other countries can say that. So we're pretty lucky.
Now, as we've said about 15 times in the first 15 minutes of this interview, first season as a pro, that means it's your first opportunity to earn some cash. Not the be all and end all of everything, but as we all know, it is important. It does help. It is your income now. I guess it helps you pay the bills, as you rightly alluded to. There's a lot of them. But I guess, what's it like when that first check comes into your bank account that, you know, you can actually start earning a living from this sport that you've pretty much dedicated, you know, most of your life to?
Yeah. If I'm being completely honest, the first thing that went through my head was, wow, I usually have to work 3 months to earn that money. So, yeah, look, it's pretty nice being able to do what you love and get rewarded for it. You know, you get out of it what you put in. So, and we all put so many hours in. So, yeah, no, it's kind of nice to be able to be rewarded nicely.
What's been the most surprising element of turning professional? Is there something that you didn't expect that, you know, took you by surprise, whether it's everything? I think the common one that we've heard in this story is the fact that everything is now on you. And obviously it's important that you put a good team around you, and we'll talk to you a bit about that a bit later, but that seems to be the common theme, that it's almost overnight that everything from travel and accommodation, you've got to sort out yourself right the way through to getting yourself the course, your practice, you know, being prepared for the actual round, and you come out in an environment where it's all done for you, as opposed to, you know, you're accountable to yourself and yourself alone now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a lot of responsibility that comes with it, but most of us have been nothing's really a shock. I think the highlights, you know, even the small things like water on the tee box and you know, like unlimited teas on the first tee, you know, like I stock up every week and it's fantastic because I never got so to see the fridge when at the end of an event I've got like 50 bottles of water in there, so it's great. I can't complain. But yeah, look, we get treated so well and we're so lucky to, you know, have that in Australia. So yeah, look, nothing's really a shock, if I'm being honest. It's just golf and get it in the hole as quick as you can.
That's now. Let's take it right back to the beginning of the journey. How did Cassie Porter get introduced to the game? How did you fall in love with the game? What are some of your earliest memories of your involvement with golf?
Yeah, so I moved to Queensland probably when I was 6, and Dad played golf, Mum didn't. And she ended up taking it up, and I'd go around in the cart and, you know, draw and sleep and do whatever a 6-year-old does for 4.5 hours when Mum and Dad are playing golf. And then, you know, when they finish, they go have a drink with their friends, and I just go to the range and hit with Mum's clubs, which were probably twice my height, but, you know, we managed. So, yeah, that's probably how I got into it. I started doing clinics and group lessons and all that kind of stuff. And, yeah, look, I've said this on a few other podcasts. I really didn't like golf when I was younger. I think there's just so many other things to do when you're a 6-year-old. You know, you swim, you dance, you play tennis, you go and play in the mud, you know, do whatever you want to do. But yeah, I grew to like it. I started again when I was 8, and just, yeah, I became a really competitive child. So
Where was this? Where were you going around with Mum? Where were you hitting on the range? Where's the first club?
Peregian Golf Course, and I'm still there. So they've seen me from my beginnings all the way to now. So it's really nice. You know, I went home back to the club for dinner the other night with my family, and all the members were there. And it was just really nice to see the people that I've known for a long time now and they're just still there supporting, which is really sweet. So
can you remember back to when you were 8 years old? Like what was it that then made you want to pick the game back up again, or like why golf? You said you didn't like it, and then a couple of years later you picking it back up, and then I don't know, just over 10 years later you're a bloody professional golfer.
Yeah, look, I honestly have no reason. I mean, girls change their mind 4 times every minute, so and that's probably more when you're 8 years old. So yeah, look, I don't have a reason. I just started again, and I think maybe my friends played and I was interested, but yeah, look, it was a great environment at Peregian too. We had, at that time, I think we had like 20 juniors. So it was just a lot of fun for all of us, you know, Friday afternoon putting comps and chipping comps. And yeah, I just loved being around people.
Did you show a bit of natural talent at the game at that young age?
Oh God, I don't know, maybe. I knew I was very competitive, so I didn't care whether I was good at it or not. I knew I was just going to win. So I remember being on that putting green for just hours and hours, just purely practicing for the Friday afternoon putting comp.
So
Yeah.
I guess fill in the gaps for us. I mean, you pick up the game again when you're 8 years old. You're now, I guess, a professional golfer. What's sort of happening in that meantime? Obviously, you got school and everything else that's going on in your life. Like, where's golf kind of fitting into it all?
Yeah, so I did face-to-face normal school till year 7, finished year 7, and then I started doing homeschool because I was traveling with golf and had opportunities to go overseas. And it's just so hard doing face-to-face school because you come back and all the friend groups are mixed up and you miss just so much work. So as I said, I started homeschool and just did that on the road for the rest of my schooling life. And just had great opportunities with Golf Australia to go overseas, and we played in America and the Middle East and Japan and New Caledonia. So I was lucky enough to have a few opportunities to do that. So I don't think I won't be complaining about that anytime soon because it's taught me a lot. Yeah.
It sounds as though like you were pretty set, from that kind of 11, 12 mark that this is something you wanted to give a genuine crack. Would that be fair to say? Because I think for the most part, in our experience, you fall into one of two camps. You either know and you have those experiences that you say through your teenage years through the pathway, or you kind of not fall into it, but you may be playing a few different sports and around kind of 16, 17, you say, right, this is the path I'm going to take.
Yeah, I made that decision pretty early to stop all my other sports and play golf. I think I was maybe 12, which is obviously pretty young. So I made that commitment pretty early, and I decided to do homeschool at 13. So I was pretty set on what I wanted to do, and I remember going into mum and dad's room being like, I want to be number 1 in the world. It's going to happen. So I was a pretty headstrong child, so I don't think they had any complaints or weren't going to argue with me. So
skipped over it. Golf in New Caledonia. Can we just circle back to this because all the other countries that you mentioned, sure, that's great. Everyone's played golf. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people have played golf there. I'm looking on the map. Where the bloody hell do you play golf in New Caledonia? And B, where? I was just talking through how this happens.
No, I was honestly, your comment of where the hell do you play golf in New Caledonia? I was thinking that when we got to the golf course. I'm like, so where are we playing?
I think I found it at the Sheraton.
I wouldn't know. Everything was in French when we went over. No one spoke English, so I wouldn't have a clue.
Okay. That's first person to ever say they played golf in New Caledonia on this podcast.
Yeah. It was great. I mean, it was I've never been somewhere where it's just so tropical. Like, it'll be raining all the time and then suddenly it's just, sunny. It's so weird, but it was good. I mean, we were just there for a team event for 5-6 days maybe, but it's great. I mean, we're pretty lucky that our sport takes us all over the world. So,
aren't you ever? You probably answered my question there, but I was going to ask, what were the format of these events that you're traveling to in your teams? Obviously, you say it's through Golf Australia. So are they team events? Are they individual events? A combination of both? What was kind of the? And I imagine this is part of the Golf Oz kind of pathway program that you've obviously been drawn into, given your talent at an early age.
Yeah. So most of them were a combination. So you'd have a team event, but you'd also have an individual part. And that was probably 99% of them. So I think it teaches you a lot going over and playing in a team. You can be playing individually, and myself, I'm very competitive, so that's fine. But you also have the mindset of, your team needs you as well. So don't just drop the ball. As I said, most of them were team events, and it was really cool because we got to travel with a lot of people, and I met a lot of people that way, and wouldn't change it for the world.
You obviously have pretty lofty ambitions. I mean, you mentioned you said to mum and dad you want to be number 1 in the world. So when you're going 12. Through this, at 12, which is great. I absolutely admire the ambition. When you're going through that kind of formative stage, who are you looking up to from a golf perspective? Obviously, like we speak to I'd say 98% of people say Tiger. But I'm curious to know, you're probably a little bit younger and clearly, I'm sure, had some women golfer idols as well. So who are you looking up to when you're that young and you kind of see someone, that's who I want to be?
Yeah, for a long time now, I've looked up to Nelly. She's just, I guess I just relate to her a lot. Just her swing is just so simple. You know, she does hardly anything in her swing and it goes straight. So that's amazing. But she's just a great golfer all round. Lydia was definitely someone I looked up to. I mean, when I was coming up through my ranks, through the junior ranks, she was, you know, at her prime. And I'm sure she'll get back there very soon. But I didn't have one person that I looked up to. I was always, you know, looking at how everyone played the game differently and how I could play the game differently. So I wouldn't say I have one particular person. I think I just aspired to be a pro golfer and not another Nelly Corder, the first Cassie Porter. So.
like that. So you get to the end of, I suppose, your homeschooling, and what's on the table? Are you looking at, do you go down, say, the QAS role? Are you looking at maybe, I'm sure there was some potential to look at some colleges over in the States. So what decisions are you weighing up there when you get to the end of schooling?
Yeah, definitely. I was absolutely weighing up going to college. For me, I couldn't justify going to school for another 4 years while trying to be the best golfer I can. I just thought, you know, if I'm going to do this, I may as well just give it my all for the next 4 years. And, you know, if it works, it works. But if it doesn't, I can always go back to uni as a mature age student or whatever. But I always knew I probably wouldn't go back to uni because work too hard at my golf to go back to school. Yeah. So I know I'd definitely rather play golf than go back to school. So, yeah, I think that's also a motivation to work harder so I don't have to do that.
Particularly going back to uni as a mature age student, because I think there's some pretty strong opinions about mature age students, Cassie.
Yeah.
Had a few of them in my uni days. I can still remember their names. I meant it's a great segue that Marshy asked the question about who are your idols, but I remember I'm reading an article here back on the Golf Australia website that you spent some time with Kari Webb and Hannah Green in the US as well. So keen to understand, obviously, how was that meeting the greatest Australian golfer that we've ever produced in Kari Webb and Hannah, who's on a great trajectory? What did you learn from them? What did you take away from that experience?
So much. They are amazing people and just amazing that we have such close contact with them. You know, I played with Hannah in the Vic Open and we spent a lot of time with Kari over there. So, yeah, I think there's just endless knowledge that you can take away from someone that has been there and done that. We actually cooked dinner for me and Kelsey Bennett cooked dinner for Hannah, Sue and Kari and our managers. And you know, being over in America and not knowing where to get good food from, we went to Walmart, got a roast chicken and attempted to roast some veggies. And the whole time we were cooking it, we're like, oh my God, we're literally serving up the worst dinner for like Kari Webb, the goat. Like, and there was just like the nice people they are. They're just like, it's fine. But yeah, look, I probably not the proudest moment serving up that for dinner, but you know, I can't complain. I cooked dinner for them, so that was cool. But yeah, no, we had a great time over there. Like we played golf with Kari at Audubon Golf Club, and Kari said she hadn't played for a while, and she was still like amazing. It was just amazing. I was like, how do you not pick up a golf club for so long and be so good? So yeah, no, that was pretty impressive.
I think we found our highlight, Marshy, for when we snip this up for social media. That'll be
we're cooking dinner.
What did you serve, Kari Webb? Because I was going to ask what was on the menu. I didn't know. I thought you were going to
Walmart roast chicken.
Yeah, Aussie barbecue or something. But
we did try Aussie barbecue, but yeah, no. Walmart doesn't cater for that. We soon found out that Walmart is not where you go to buy food.
Yeah, no. Yes.
So, wouldn't have thought so.
No.
Yeah,
thought so.
At least the Walmart chicken would have been, you know, probably like 5.5 kilos because they're all roided up. From,
I thought you were going to say 5.5
memory.
days old, because that would
Probably
have
as
been
well.
too.
Who knows? All I can remember from going to Walmart over there was that they were these massive roided up chickens. But anyhow, getting very sidetracked. Had you met Kari before, or what's it like meeting, in our opinion, the greatest Australian golfer, the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
She's the GOAT. She's the greatest Australian golfer that we've ever produced, male or female. And so you met her before. What's it like when you met her for the first time? What's it like when you're on the tee box about to play golf with her?
Yeah, pretty insane, really. I think the first time we met her was when she walked in and we were cooking roast chicken for dinner.
Brilliant.
Yeah, great first impression. No, it was just so cool. But she's just so relatable, and she's so approachable and is so there for you if you need to chat. So it was kind of like just teeing it up with a mate, which was pretty cool to say, considering she is the GOAT.
You haven't had everything go your own way in your very short career. 2019, you picked up a back injury, which kept you out of the game for over a year, if I'm doing my research correctly. Can you maybe just take us through what you're willing to share about that and obviously how challenging that was for obviously your career and it's a pretty integral part of where you're at in your golf journey anyway.
Yeah. Look, I was diagnosed with a stress fracture early 2020 and didn't pick up a golf club properly maybe middle of 2021. So 18 months. It was definitely a tough 18 months, but I think there's a lot of positives that came out from it. Learning how to deal with that sort of hardship. A lot of people have got it worse, and a back injury you can get over, but being told you can't play golf again at 17, 18 is pretty tough, considering that's what you've devoted your whole life to. So it taught me heaps and how to deal with that sort of stuff, and I wouldn't change it for the world because it's not many people go through that so early. So, and I'd much rather do it than now when I'm trying to make a living. So it wasn't a fantastic 18 months, but we worked through it, and I'm really proud of how my team handled it. So
just kind of doing the math, you mentioned that 18-month break and you pick up a club in earnest properly for the first time in the middle of 2021, and 6 months later you're turning pro. So I imagine you had a lot of time to sit and think about like what are my next steps here, and so do you think if there's a silver lining alongside the lessons that it taught you, do you think that it gave you the space? Because often when you're in it and you're playing week in, week out, you're at the range every day, it's probably almost all roads lead to turning pro, whereas you were given an opportunity to take a step back and go, right, like I have a real chance here with some time away from the game to plot a path forward. So it's not just turning pro as a matter of habit. It's like, I know that when I turn pro, I kind of step the next, 5 or 6 steps out after that.
Yeah, definitely. My coach and I had, I'm going to say millions of chats, about like how we're going to move forward and the plan moving forward. But yeah, look, I did have a lot of time to think about it, and obviously thoughts are going to go through your head, like, do I actually want to do this? It's easy to think, I'm not good enough, and do I actually want to do this my whole life when you're sitting on the couch and can't move? So, look, it was definitely motivating too, having a plan and, getting up and going to physio and going to rehab, because I know that's where I want to be and that's what I need to do to get there. So, in terms of turning pro 6 months after I picked up a club for the first time, my whole thing's just there's no time better than the present. So, I don't regret it for 1 second, and I'm so glad that I've been able to do what I've been able to do.
Tell us about your team, because I think the most important, and I say this having never been a professional golfer, but I say from the outside, it's almost the most important decision that you make is who you surround yourself with. And clearly your family is critical, and mum and dad, by the sounds, have been a wonderful support. But when you make the decision to go pro, and even before that, when you kind of forming that team around you, mum and dad can't do everything for you, right? So it's about trust and who you put around you. So walk us through, I suppose, who are those critical people that surround you, and I suppose the role they each play in supporting your journey as a pro.
Yeah, absolutely. So my coach, he is my number one man for everything. He has got me through so many different places in my life, and he's just like another dad to me, which is really nice. So Dan Morrison, he works at Perugian Golf Course, and we train out of there, and he's just so good. He's so good. He caddies for me. So he caddied for me at WPGA and Vic Open, and we just work so well together. A lot of people commented on, our conversations over a shot. And it's just, I think it's really special that we do get along so well outside of golf too. It's pretty priceless. And then my trainer / physio, Matt Winkley, I've been working with him probably since maybe end of December now. So 3-4 months. We're working so well together, and we get along really well. So for me, I do have a small team, but for me, it's all about being able to get along with them outside of golf too and be mates. I know it's a business, but I love for everyone to get along and, share the same values and the same interests, which we all do. So I think that's really cool as well.
We'll get to a lighter side of Winks shortly, because he is obviously the head trainer of the 19th Tee podcast as well. And as you can see, Cassie's putting a lot more time into his actual clients than his fake ones like us, given how we're presenting ourselves at present. But tell me how important it was for you, and this is probably almost a self-explanatory answer, but given the 18 months you had prior to turning pro, I imagine it was a pretty critical decision to find someone who you can work in terms of the strength and conditioning space to ensure that your body's going to be right to hold up to the rigors of pro golf.
Yeah. The process of, I don't want to say choosing Matt, because we've that is just so weird, but we've known each other for so long, and we'd pass each other in the street or Brisbane Golf Club, he was playing comp, and he always threw chat, which I loved. I love a bit of throwing some chat. So as soon as I needed someone, I immediately contacted him, and we get along so well. So I thought, why not? And we teed it up. So I think it's just so important having someone that you can get along with while they're putting you through so much pain in a workout. So it's really good. We have a lot of fun.
Now, I did text him this morning,
yes,
and shared that we'd be speaking to you tonight. I've since learnt before we hit the record button here that he shared that with you, which is a critical flaw. I probably should have seen that coming, to be fair, and I was really going for him a surprise. But he did give me a couple of things that I wanted to put to you. The first of which is, I asked you earlier if anything has shocked you since turning professional, and you said that there'd been no shocks. But I wonder how shocked you were when you heard someone on the 17th at Royal Queensland, the WPGA, which of course was the party hole. So I assume this gentleman had enjoyed a few by this stage. After, I believe you had to make a drop from close to the grandstand after blading one from the bunker, and overheard him say, "Is she always this shit?"
Yes.
So I wonder if that in fact may be the only thing that shocked you since turning pro.
You know what? I'm actually going to go as far to say that has been the highlight of my season. Yeah, that was fantastic. I'll play it out for you. So we're on the tee, right? And going right is just the worst thing you can do on the 17th. I don't know whether you've played RQ, but at the best of times, no grandstands, Saturday afternoon, 30 degrees, no comp, social play. It is a hard hole. So with 2,000 people around, you kind of just I'm happy to pull hook at left but did not go right. Anyway, so standing on the tee, I pretty much shanked it, right? So, and I was like a foot underground in the bunker, and I was like, I have to blade it over the back because the other option's staying here, and it's no good here. So we did that, and obviously the grandstand, they can't see the lie in the bunker, so I can see all of them go, ooh, like, ah. Anyway, so I took the drop, and I looked up, and Winks was there, and he's just kind of like look at me being like, oh, like, it's okay. I'm like, I'm fine. It's going to be the best 5 I make in my life. Yeah, and this guy just turned around. He wasn't in the same tent as Winks, and he just turned to his mate and he goes, so is she really this shit? Like, is she always this shit? It was just so good, like absolutely. I think I turned around and said, mate, feel free to come and play it for me because I don't think
brilliant.
Be able to make 4 from here. So, yeah, no, that's definitely the highlight of my season.
How close did you put the chip?
Not close enough.
Okay, so it wasn't even a case of being able to just turn around and give him a wink after you hit the chip.
I would have loved to be able to do that. Yeah, I was pretty lucky to make 6, to be fair. So, yeah, I can't really turn around and be like, yeah, stuff you. So,
brilliant. Now, he also said that he's won up in putting comps against you, which I find a little hard to believe, given your story about being on the putting green practicing really since the age of 6. So, what's the story there?
You know what? I'm really not surprised he told you that because he hasn't let me live it. In between exercises in the gym, he's just like, yeah, well, you can throw chat back when you win a putting comp. So, look, it wasn't my finest moment on the putting green. I'm sure it was his most fine moment on the putting green. So we'll just leave it at that. 2 more things. Love hot wings and sauce? Yes. No, I don't. But
no,
I do.
But you do. Potentially, that's maybe what we should have served Kari, is the hot wings and sauce.
We did. So I'll take you through the story. So my coach, Dan, he is a huge fan of Hot Ones. It's like a TV show on YouTube that they do in America with all the celebrities. And there's 10 sauces, and it ranges from hot but all right to absolutely blowing your brains out. And, you know, they work their way through. So I did that. Dan came over to my house the other night, and we did the challenge. And I think by the 6th sauce, I was just in so much pain. So I just, yeah, I wouldn't wish that on the goat, Kari. I absolutely would not. So I think roast chicken will win for now.
Yeah, I was going to say you may have made a worse impression than the Walmart roast chicken did. And then just finally, and I actually think you can probably take this as a backhanded compliment. He says that you are the least knowledgeable professional that he has seen from a golf specs perspective. So you don't know your swing speeds. You got no idea about the details of your shafts or your fitting. Couldn't care less about your strokes gained. You're just entirely a field player, which, as I said, I think is probably a backhanded compliment. Maybe if he'd reversed it and pumped up how much of a field player you are, as opposed to talking about you as the least knowledgeable professional golfer he's known.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, I think there's golfers that are so into their numbers and everything, and then there's me on the other side of the spectrum. So, yeah, I'm definitely totally opposite, but yeah, I honestly, that's Wink's job to care about my team. So
he's doing a very good job of it. We must talk about some success that you've had, and you've had plenty of it in your amateur career. None more so than the Capera Bowl back in October of 2021, where your partner Tyler also won the men's side, which that also helps. So I'm sure there was some good celebrations, but you beat Justice Bozio, who's a very, very good talent, as we were talking about before. Can you take us to the Capera Bowl there? What did it mean to win such a prestigious tournament? Just take us through that whole week and what that was like ultimately coming off the green as the champion.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite week in my whole amateur career. I mean, I think I was back at golf for maybe 2 months, and I obviously had no expectations. I was just trying to, I guess break par. So, yeah, no, it was
not easy around Capera, to be fair. So that's not a bad ambition at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think at the start of the week I'm like, yeah, I'll be happy with 10 over. So yeah, it was funny. The last day, I finished eagle, birdie, par or something. So yeah, a little bit of luck, but it meant so much to me to be able to win that after so much time off. So yeah, it kind of proves to yourself that you still have it in the tank.
I mean, you bounce back after 74 to start with, and then, you know, as you mentioned, obviously finishing very, very good form, but 68, 67, a 6-shot turnaround from your opening round to your second round. Was there, what kind of clicked overnight? Was there anything in particular that you can put your finger on?
Yeah, look, I will definitely put it down to just my mindset was so, I guess, accepting. I was just grateful to be out there playing pain-free. I hadn't had that for close to 2 years at that point. So, yeah, I think just being able to be grateful that you're just there and having the opportunity to play golf was a huge thing that I definitely put down that success to. So, and, you know, trying to take that through life, it's hard. You kind of lose it at times, but yeah, it's definitely a good mindset to have.
And of course, obviously Tyler winning it as well. It must have been nice to celebrate together.
Yeah, it was a bit of a Cinderella story. Actually, at that point in time, I was way more excited for his win than my win, to be fair. He went into a playoff and I was so nervous. Like I could have had $3 million and it wouldn't have stacked up to how nervous I was. So yeah, no, it was really nice that he could pull through it in the playoff, and we ended up winning it together. So that was really cool.
Who are some of the people that you're closest to, I suppose, who you've come through the system with, Cassie? You mentioned Kelsey Bennett before, and obviously you two are close. Yeah. But like as we said before, like the women's game is stacked at home, and I wonder who you've kind of formed great relationships with, because you've all kind of come through at a similar sort of time.
Yeah, no, honestly, all the girls are just so close, which is so cool. And seeing Steph doing as well as she is, we came through with Steph, all of us, since when we were quite young. So it's really cool to see her go and do what she's doing and just absolutely dominating in Europe. So yeah, it's really cool. I think we all just trying to follow in her footsteps and be who we want to be and try and achieve our dreams. And it's really cool that we can do that together.
And just on that note, in terms of following in her footsteps, what's on the agenda? Obviously, a couple more things to go here on home soil in the next few weeks. But beyond that, what are the plans for Cassie Porter in 2022?
Isn't that the big question? So hoping to be able to miss first stage of LPGA school due to my ranking being low enough. So that'll start, second stage will start in October. But in between, obviously there's quite a bit of time between New South Wales Open ending and second stage. So I might try and get a few starts in Europe in between there. And other than that, I'll be in the US from October onwards. So yeah, just it's really exciting actually. I can't wait to play in the US. So.
And just finally, I wanted to go back to Parisian. I wanted to ask you what your favourite hole is, and I'll give you some context. So I only played it for the first time, would have been back end of last year. It was day 2 of a Bucks weekend, and I wouldn't say I was at my best. Probably the most stressful golfing experience of my life, and that's because I was actually in charge of organising the day as one of the groomsmen, and I was responsible essentially. It was on a Saturday we went out, and the club were excellent. Like, they were very accommodating of a group of 16 on a Saturday morning to get us out before the members. But you can imagine my stress levels of trying to usher 16 people around Parisian, conscious that we've got the members coming behind us for Saturday comp. So I don't get the sense, given I also was suffering, having got a little bit of first night fever as well. So I was suffering on multiple fronts. I don't necessarily feel as though I took the course in. Like, I loved it, but there's a couple that stand out. I love the kind of the dog leg ninth to the left there. And is it the 17th, the par 3 that's over water, or is it the 16th?
That's 12.
It's 12.
I was just going to jump in and say, Marshy, I'm surprised, so surprised that you can remember where the fuck you even were.
Yeah.
So you've done very well to remember one hole out of 18. So
well, I like 9 and I like apparently 12, not 17. Couldn't tell you what 17 looks like, but I like the par 3 over water.
Yeah, definitely 12. Yeah, so yeah, you got 9 right. That's good. Yeah. Look, yeah, there's some awesome holes there. It's pretty narrow, so it kind of you don't hit it straight. There's a few broken windows, so definitely forces you to hit it straight. I'd probably say 12 is my favorite too. Off the tips, it gets a bit. It's pretty tricky because there's tall trees halfway, but then there's like a wind funnel the other half. So it's good.
I just carried the water on the right hand side, and I said I was going to wrap, but you talk about how narrow it is. Particularly, it gets quite thin through the middle stages of that back 9. And funnily enough, I don't think I ever told Nate this anyway. So we got a good little briefing before we went out. Obviously, club, a little bit of a risk taking on 16 unruly gentlemen early on a Saturday morning, and they were great. As I said, there was only really one strict instruction, and that was, look, if you hit anything like house-wise, it's fine. We've got insurance. We just need you to call it in. Like, you've got to call it in. Yeah. And we're like, yeah, no worries, that's fine. So we were in the last group because I was trying to keep everyone on time, and I hit my first roof maybe on 13 or 14, and I called up and I said, just on the back 9, just calling in to report a hit house. And I said, yeah, you guys have certainly hit your quota. And I was like, what do you mean? This is the first call from my group of 4. I was like, yeah, this is the 8th call from your group of 16 so far today. And I was like, oh, shit, that's not great. Anyway, got back to the house, and I subsequently found out that we may have called 8 or 9 in, but there are probably a few others that didn't necessarily get called in. Some people forgot the strict instructions.
I'll give the pro shop a heads up.
Yeah, so look, I'm reticent to tell you the date because we could be in for an invoice that we were playing. But yeah, I can attest to it being incredibly narrow, particularly through the back 9.
Yeah, definitely. I live on the golf course, and
oh shit, might have been your house. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. We're literally parallel to the men's tee, and we still get balls. So yeah,
right.
You live on a golf course, you got to suck it up, right? So
even parallel, you would have been in a bit of trouble that day. It was funny. Actually. Some people were great. I had a number of people come out and throw our balls back. Others not so great. So look, I'm sure it's the perils of living on a course. Anyway, I've just taken you through step by step the Bucks Day Pregium, which you probably didn't anticipate when you decided to join. But it's clearly a story I've been dying to get off my chest. Looking for the opportunity to tell it. Look, Cassie, it's been fantastic to have you on. As I think I said at the start, we've certainly enjoyed watching your progress since Royal Queensland. We've waxed lyrical about your results across the summer, and I get the sense talking to you and seeing how driven you are that it's probably the start of bigger things to come. So really appreciate you taking the time to join us, and hopefully it's the first of many chats when we start talking to you after having a few wins as a pro.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks so much for having us, guys.